was the winner there. Junior 2 4-cycle was Daniel Watkins. This guy he came from Davenport, Washington. He won Junior 2 4-cycle and the CKA Super Sport class. So big hats off to Daniel Watkins. AKRA Clones went to Chris Hatch. Super Sport 200s went to Danny the King Cahill. And then KT Light and KT Heavy was a sweep by none other than Corey Markham. What a job he did. It was awesome stuff. So great weekend for the UAS guys. I'm just privileged I get to call that stuff. I wish I could do more of it. But yeah, wow. I mean, it was and if you read what I have here, I have the names that went home, and this was crazy. Let me see if I got it here. Give me a sec. Let's see right here. I got the notes. Yeah, right here. These are the one. And I told you that there was going to be some good cars going home. I mean, Cox loaded up. Singleton loaded up. Tyler Weber. I'll tell you what. He drove Dave Lorenz's Eccentric with a 450 on it, and he did awesome. It took him till his final heat race to kind of get things figured. He almost made the A's. He was a spot out, but Weber went home. Ron Bowles went home. Christy Mayo went home. Chase Hinkins with the Jawa went home. Teacott loaded up. Terry Lawrence, Gil Atkinson, Tim Lawrence. I mean, it's ridiculous. All these guys that went home. I mean, it's crazy. But you knew they were going to because it was a stout field. Diotti was quick. He was second fast, but he faded late, had some tire issues and whatnot. You know, Chris, the thing, and I don't know how much you guys get to do, but these guys get to play with tire dope and stuff. And, man, I was watching those guys Friday night before. It's crazy. I mean, that's an art in itself. I mean, if you don't understand that, you're pretty much you're not going to be racing for the win. I know that.
Yeah, well, you know, with what we do in pavement racing, tire doping is pretty much against the rules. There's pretty strong arguments to allow it, but part of the problem with pavement racing is there's chemicals out there that will actually tear up the racetrack. And so when you're looking at $1 million to pave a short track or just making it so that it's not legal, it's a pain to police. It's tough to make sure that everybody is legal and not doping their tires. But at the end of the day, if we allowed it, we would be in a position of requiring chemicals that don't tear up asphalt. So where do you draw the line? So it's easier just to say it's not allowed.
Absolutely. And like you said, trying to police that would just be, I mean, it'd be a monstrosity kind of ordeal to try to do it. And then, you know, also I think that what I want to say, you don't learn that way. I mean, you know, half the time you're crutching the car anyway, so, you know, you just add this is just another thing somebody's got to learn, another variable that's out there, and, you know, obviously it's a game of haves and have-nots anyway, so, I mean, you know, you try to keep the playing field, I guess, as level as you can. I don't know. I mean, tires are a big deal anyway.
Well, tires are the name of the game.
They are, and it's no different here. You know, Mike Burris, you know, he hates that dope. I mean, he can't stand it. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, they're cutting them. I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing. I mean, it's nuts. So anyway, great weekend. Big shout out to all the BK competitors. I'm just gonna say, if you made that show, even if you didn't make that show, my hat's still off to you because that was that's a tough. That was a tough field. But Brad Berg was definitely the guy, the man, and nobody works harder than that guy, and he deserved every bit of what he got. You know, Michael Lawton, the defending champ, he was here too, and Lawton was good. I don't know if he was as good as Berg. I mean, he said he was running 10-1s in traffic. Well, 10-1s was what Stansbury qualified at, and he was running that in traffic. So I think they got Berg at a 995 and then consistent 999s after. So dude was dude was magic, man. I'm telling you. But the big talk was Jason Gibb. He comes out after 8 years against a pretty stout field with hardly little or no time. And I think the first laps he got on it were Friday night practice, and he rolled it home third.
Well, that's, he's a talented race car driver, always has been.
Yeah, he pretty good stuff, man. His brother Chris and his nephew Joe, he ran the AMO class, ran real good, and then his dad Fred were there, so they had the whole generation there. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and like Ronnie Cox was saying, it's really cool when you get guys that are super excited about. I mean, there was guys excited about making the feature. That's when you're kind of onto something, when guys are excited about making the feature.
Yep.
So anyway, that's kind of what's going on with the BK. I hope some of you guys come down and support the Salem show this weekend. Probably not going to be much because of the big weekend, but as they say, it's time to move on. It's late model time. And boy, what better guy to talk about late models than Chris Cunningham. So first of all, because you told me at the start of the show before we went on what your actual job description is, and I don't think people get, they see you walking around, they see you with a radio and blah, 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 but man, there's a whole lot more to Chris Cunningham before they see that, correct?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more work than goes in just on race day.
So when you took this job at Evergreen, you were the former director of competition for the Pro 4 series, right?
That's correct.
And so when you took over Evergreen, what were your job duties? What was expected of you?
Well, when I went into it, I really didn't know how much more difficult it would be to be the director at a racetrack as opposed to a traveling series. A traveling series has the luxury of coming in and arriving at a facility that's fully staffed, the schedule's worked out, all the details are taken care of. At a racetrack, you're the one taking care of those details. So everything from, rules writing to procedures, schedule for the day, and on down the line. And then not only do you have one class to deal with, but you have everybody that races there to deal with. So you handle all protests from 7 or 8 different divisions, maintaining law and order basically amongst everybody who's at the racetrack on any given weekend.
Unbelievable. And if those of you who were at the BK are any indication, those officials probably got it. They probably got it easy. I think Roger Freeborn, who was the race director there, said, "Oh well, we had a couple unhappy folks. So if that's all we had, we did pretty good." And I'm sure that's the case because, man, I can only imagine what it must be like. I mean, on a Saturday night. I mean,
yeah, if you come away from an event with only 1 or 2 unhappy people, you've done really, really well.
Yeah, it's too bad it's not though. But honestly, I don't know why. I'll move back. So when you get there, do you actually write for the late model stuff? I mean, do you actually write the rules for the track, or do you kind of take some and then kind of pick and choose what you think is good and fit it in there?
Well, there was a platform that we started with, of course, and the NASCAR rule book is a guide. And then in the off season, we meet with a lot of the teams and discuss what changes, if any, should be implemented for the following season. Everything from leveling the field from performance advantage standpoints to cost saving issues. And so, at the end of the day, Doug Hobbs, the promoter and the owner, it's his responsibility. But I, as the director, I'm in charge with putting the final written word out. And so it takes a lot of time through meetings, conversation, discussion, not only with our racers, but other racetracks, know what is going on around the country so that we don't isolate ourselves or our racers onto a rules package. Curfew so that we can be done by 10 o'clock at night, keep the fans happy, keep the show moving along, and keep the racers happy.
Unbelievable. And that's just one night.
Yeah.
Good night. Wow. Yeah, I think I had a little bit of an idea, but I had no idea. Wow, that's crazy. So the Whelen late model series are they new on board as a title the series?
The Wheeling Manufacturing Company has been the title series for NASCAR Regional Late Model Series, I think, for about 11 years now, or 9 years. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
But they've been around for a while, and so they've been the main sponsor of weekly late model racing series around the country for several years.
Wow. So now, how much different is it from, like, I know back in the 90s when I was going, like when Biffle was still around, they had that I don't even know. I think it was the Winston, or not the Winston, but it was the weekly racing series that they had. So Joe Blow could win at Evergreen, and Joe Smith over here in North Carolina could win. They're tied, and everything goes, according that way. Is it still similar to that?
Yeah, they still run a similar platform with a regional and national champions. Now they do it by state, so the state champion comes from Evergreen Speedway, as Evergreen is the only NASCAR-sanctioned track in Washington State. And then they pair the state winners amongst each other and figure out through a points averaging system who the national champion is.
Wow. So have you ever thought about, okay, so you've got all those winners from the various states. Has there been any talk about bringing them together and have like the Super Bowl of weekly racing series?
Yeah, there's always a lot of talk about that, and everybody would love to, but the reality is the cars on the West Coast are different enough from the cars in the Midwest and the cars in the South, and they're completely different cars in some cases. Like Keith Rocco won the, I think, Connecticut State Championship racing a Whelen-style modified. Well, Lee Pulliam wins in South Carolina, I believe, in a late model stock type race car. They're not even similar. So to be on the track together wouldn't make any sense.
So the weekly racing series then isn't just strictly a late model thing. It's the modifieds and all that stuff kind of combined.
Correct. And it tends to be the top level class at any given racetrack on a Saturday night.
Oh, interesting. Because I didn't know, like, I figured they were kind of on their own. The modifieds would be doing their thing, and it was strictly like a late model thing. But,
yeah, well, that's been a point of contention. That they're not the exact same kinds of cars, and so there is no way to race them together and determine an actual true champion.
Right. Still, it would be cool to, even if they did it just for the late model guys. I mean, I don't know how big probably back east the modifieds are a lot bigger, obviously, than they are here. But, so I don't know, but that'd be pretty cool. That'd be really cool if they actually did that. But
yeah, they ran the short track at Daytona, and they're doing it again this year. And that was sort of an attempt to get all the champions from each state together and on a common platform to get them to race together, but I'm not sure that it's going to go forward. I think this will probably be the last year that they do it.
Wow. So, okay, so kind of on that same note, I noticed, like, okay, it was the Northwest Tour forever, and then what did it do? It switched and went to, it was the NASCAR Northwest Tour, and then it was the Ray Bestis Northwest Tour, and so on and so forth. Then it left, and I don't know, I think it was ASA one year, and then it was the ARCA series, and what's going on with that?
Well, you just running a traveling series is a pretty challenging proposition, and without really super strong local racing to feed it, it's tough to maintain. And so what was the Northwest Tour kind of disbanded after about 2008, I believe, and it's just been open shows and weekly racing in the Northwest since then. Last year, Garrett Evans started the Tri-Track Series, and so that's an attempt to replace what was left over from the Northwest Tour as a top-level touring series for late model stock cars.
And I did have one of those questions on there, so because you're NASCAR sanctioned now and whatever, were you